I'm still good work. Well, you know I am.
And we'll call the meeting to order. I'll go ahead and have the Madam Clerk read a statement, please.
The city has returned to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for a deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely, residents can live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube and call 805-865-7276 to provide public comment via phone. The phone line will open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity to comment on each item heard by the council. Written public comment can be submitted via email to cityclerk@prcity.com prior to 12 noon on the day of the council meeting to be posted as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written public comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. City council meetings will be live streamed during the meeting and also available to playback later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube. And as a note, the meeting today was noticed as in-person only. However, all council members are participating here in person. And in order to increase public transparency and participation, the call-in line will be open as usual, and YouTube is streaming the meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Melissa. So we'll go ahead and at this point run the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to bring up my grandson, John Hammond IV, and he'll lead us in the pledge. Come forward, John.
Join me in the Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jack. Madam Clerk, can you call roll call, please?
Councilmember Bausch?
Present.
Councilmember Gregory?
Here.
Councilmember Strong?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Here. We move on now to public comment. This is the time that we'll have anyone wishing to address the council of items not on the agenda. Please come forward.
As a point of order, sir, in a special meeting, we only allow public comment for items on the agenda.
Of this meeting only. Okay, thank you.
I didn't understand what she said.
Go ahead and replace it.
We'll only be allowing public comment during the item itself, not for anything that's not
Oh,
on the
no,
agenda.
this is on something else.
So
it's
we're
out of
not
order.
going to accept that public comment during a special meeting.
It's only on this item, Dale.
It's only on this item.
Oh, public comment, I thought.
If you read the
Agenda
agenda,
items
it's
only?
printed.
Well, then I have to wait till the agenda item, don't I?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we are not there yet.
Well, then forget it.
Thank you, Dale. All right, we're moving on then. No one else coming forward. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I entered my card here. My name is Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. And first of all, I want to express my condolences for the loss of Mayor Martin. It's probably was not expected, and I know there's a lot of changes that have to be covered and made. And I hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves. So with that, in the same mouthful, I wanted to just come here for a minute and remind the council as you appoint or, induct, whatever the word is, to remember the Hispanic Latino voter base. I think in 2008, there was a disenfranchisement by the city of Paso Robles that the Latino voters were not represented. And somebody else made a comment about a woman. I know affirmative action is quite a hot topic these days, but I think it would be helpful. I live in North County here, what people dub as Mexico. I live in a farm housing area. I live with farm workers. And I cannot communicate with them after 4 years. And I represent them for GSMOL, so it's difficult for me to get information needed. So I just came here for a second to remind that it's really important to have that, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Appreciate that. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Bring on to discussion item 1, appointment of to fill the vacancy of the office of mayor and discussion of options to fill anticipated vacancy of the city council member. Elizabeth, are you online?
I am.
Do you want to go ahead and do the introduction of the item?
Sure. Sure. So we had a council meeting on September 5th of this year, just a few days ago. And during that meeting, the council was presented with their options to fill the vacancy in the mayor's role. There was the option to hold a special election or to make an appointment. During that meeting, the council chose the fork in the road to make an appointment. They also directed staff at that time to come back with a staff report that would allow them to fill the vacancy in the mayor's office by appointing a member of the council to serve the remainder of that term. And then assuming or if you're able to come to terms on an appointment of one member of the council, that would immediately create a vacancy in a council seat. And so this item also allows you to address that issue tonight. By again choosing the fork in the road, either doing a special election or filling the vacancy by appointment. And so this evening, your first item would be to come to some conclusion on whether or not you want to make an appointment of a city council member into the mayor's seat. And then after that, we would move on to dealing with the vacancy that would create.
Okay, very good. Questions of Elizabeth, our attorney? Any questions of the public? Dale?
Yes, Dale Augustin, 630 13th Street, Paso Robles. And I was going to say, I got as much chance of getting appointed as Detroit has of beating Kansas City, but when I left to come here, Kansas City was leading, so we'll forget that. But my comment is, I've been coming to these meetings since 1979. I've watched all the actions, and while I admire all four of the city councilmen, I was here when this city council appointed John Hammond judge pro tem. Also, John Hammond served on a planning commission before as well. And he's been very involved in the airport, which is a hot topic right now for this city, trying to get the spaceport. So it just seems logical that John Hammond should be the mayor and in your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Anyone from the public beyond that? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment, bring it back to the council for discussion and or action. Who would like to start? Councilman Gregory?
So Elizabeth, technical question. So are we at liberty to go ahead and appoint right now?
Yes, you are.
I'm going to take that liberty to make a recommendation. I've worked with this young man next to me for a long time, and John Hammond's a wonderful community member, great volunteer, and the most deserving person in the city to take this seat over for Steve Martin, in my opinion. He's done everything for our community and with our community. So I'd like to have the honor and appoint Mr. John Hammond for mayor.
I'll second that.
I think you were a little faster on that, Fed. Chris?
I was going to defer that honor to Councilmember Strong anyway.
Well, any further discussion then on the question?
I would wholeheartedly agree.
Brett, any comment?
No further comment.
All right.
Good
So
man.
We have a first and a second motion for appointment of John Hammond to the mayor for the remainder of Mayor Martin's term, 3.5 years. I guess
Would the nominee like to say anything?
not yet. So let's go ahead and call for the question, then we can.
Councilmember Gregory.
Aye.
Councilmember Strong.
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
With honor, thank you.
The motion passes unanimously.
Well done.
With that, I will ask Mayor Hammond to step forward to the front of the room. And he has asked to have at least Marjorie and perhaps some other family members to come up and be a part of this with him. We are going to administer the oath of office to our new mayor. As the mayor knows and all of our council members know, all of staff And everyone who serves as a member of council or any of our advisory bodies, or even volunteers on a regular basis with the city, takes this oath, and we join together in the oath. So with that, I will ask you to take the microphone, to raise your right hand. You have option to swear or affirm. Use your name instead of mine when we say this, and here we go. I, Melissa Boyer,
I, John Hammond,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and the
California,
Constitution of the United States, or State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take these obligations freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of office
discharge the duties of my office
upon which I am about to enter.
at which I am about to enter.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that in all matters pertaining to the city,
that in all matters pertaining to the city,
I shall strive to promote
I will strive to promote
the common good,
the common good,
to uphold the public trust
to uphold the public trust
without fear or favor of any person,
without fear or favor of any person,
and to leave the city
and to leave the city
greater and better than it was
greater and better than it was
when entrusted to me.
entrusted to me.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, again, I wish that I think circumstances were different at this point in time, but I'm willing and able to move forward and move our city with the help of our council to get our city going in the right directions and keeping the public happy with what we're doing. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve for to the remainder of the term, and look forward to all the able people that help us get there where we want to be. Thank you.
Do you know how much time we're going to save at meetings now? We don't have to say Mayor Pro Tem anymore. We can just say Mayor Hammond.
All right.
And on that note, Mayor Hammond, did you want to move on to the next part?
Yes, if you would, Elizabeth, that'd be fine.
Sure. So congratulations, Mayor Hammond. Unfortunately, that leaves us with a vacancy on the council. So Mr. Hammond's seat was District 1, and that term runs until 2026. So you now have two choices. The council can either choose to call a special election, which would be held in November 2026 to fill that seat, or the council can choose to make an appointment. And then if you decide you want to go down the appointment path, then you would need to give staff some direction on how you would want that appointment process to continue or to proceed. As we discussed a little bit last time and was in the staff report you had previously, you can all show up with names in mind. You can take applications. You can kind of follow any process that you want. You just need to give us some direction on, on how you might like to implement that. If you were to go down the appointment path, someone would serve in your former seat, the District 1 seat, until November of 2024. And then that seat would be up in a special election that would be consolidated with the November 2024 election to run for a 2-year term. So the appointee would serve for the next year until the November election, and then there would be an election to fill that seat.
Okay.
And I can answer any questions if there are.
Very good. Thank you, Elizabeth. Any questions of Elizabeth at this point? Councilman Belcher.
So it's the choice is really to appoint somebody now for the interim until the next election, just a temporary. We can't avoid appointing somebody.
Correct. Under the government code, for the mayor's position, there's a specific section in the government code that allows the appointee to serve until the end of the term. Under the government code section for filling a council seat, they would just fill, that appointment would just last until the next regularly scheduled municipal election, which is in November.
Even though that I had still another 3.5 years on my term, it's only up until November of 24 that that person can serve, correct?
Correct. So they would serve until November of 2024, then they could run for election. And whoever wins at that November election serves a short term of 2 years. So that the seat stays on schedule, right? Because we alternate, certain seats are up in 24, certain seats are up in 26. Your seat is up in 26. That District 1 seat is up in 2026. So someone would be elected in November and serve until 2026, and then it would be up again.
Yeah, that's what I always wondered about the staggered terms and how that comes out. So you're saying that the appointment would be, have to re-up again in November 24 for only 2 more years after that instead of the normal 4.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Questions of Elizabeth? Fred? No? Good?
No, I think she made it very clear.
Yep. Councilman Gregory?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Welch?
So if the appointment process, depending on our decision this evening, the appointment process would ideally be open to anyone from District 1. It would not be open to anybody from the city. They would have to reside in District 1.
That is correct. So whoever is appointed would have to be eligible to be in that seat, which would mean they need to live within the district, be a registered voter, and be over the age of 18.
Okay.
One more quick question from me, Elizabeth, then. Does the individual, let me think here, I was going to frame that. He has to, or the person would have to, I guess bottom line is the council has the discretion to find this person somehow. In other words, we will give direction on how we want to find that individual.
That's correct. So you can direct staff to publish an application and take applications for a 2-week period of time or whatever you think is appropriate. Is one way of doing it. Then, we would bring back all of the applications we received to the council, and you could vet them in some way, hold interviews. Alternatively, the council could just come up with people on their own. You don't necessarily have to take applications. It's a very open process. The government code does not set out how you have to find the person to fill this empty seat.
Got it. Councilman Strong.
Then I do have a question, Elizabeth, and that is, could we use a combination of that where we take applications, but members of the council could recommend someone and they'd all be in the same flow?
Absolutely. If that's the path that you guys chose to do, I just need some consensus from the 4 of you on what process you want us to follow.
Thank you.
So that we can make sure we make the public aware of what that is.
Any other questions from council?
Just a point of clarification.
So
if
there'd be
council-
two ways to enter the interview process. Those 2 ways are either by recommendation by a member, the current member of the city council, or by applying in the application process. And if that's the way we
And we're
decide
going
to
to
go.
deliberate that after public comment.
Okay, then I'll
Okay,
reserve my,
That was just an explanation if you were.
okay. I'll come back to that after public comment.
Very good. All right, we'll open up the public comment then.
Dale
Dale?
Augustin, 630 13th Street. In the past, when you've appointed somebody to fill a vacancy, they filled out the rest of that person's term. I don't understand why you're saying he has to run or she has to run for election in 2024, because that term is not up, which was John Hammond's term, until 2006.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the staggered terms of the seats, though, Dale. That's what I was asking, too.
But your staggered term was not up until 2006.
I agree.
And I think that you need to check and research that. My understanding of the law is that person would serve till 2006.
Okay, well,
Dale, perhaps you weren't listening to Elizabeth. She quoted the section of the law that specifically differentiates between a mayor's appointment and a council member's appointment for general law cities, class 4, such as we are. You have to follow that portion of state law, which is what she quoted if you were listening.
okay,
Well,
yeah.
it'd have to be new law because that's not what happened in the past.
Okay, we're going to follow our legal counsel, though, Dale, so thank you for your comment.
Before.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, we'll bring it back to council then to discuss and or deliberate the item. Who would like to start?
Mr. Hammond, would you like me to just clarify?
Yes, if you'd like to,
address
Elizabeth, go ahead.
To address, sure. So Government Code Section 35612B2A was amended about 4 years ago to specifically provide that the appointment is just until the next general municipal election. Mr. Gustafson was correct that previously an appointee would be allowed to serve the remainder of the term, but that was changed by the legislature a few years ago. So it now requires that the appointee is only in the seat until the next general municipal election. And then the seat has to be filled by election for the remainder of the term, the quote unquote short term that would last for 2 years.
I see. Again, it all has to do with legal laws that we have to follow, and that's where we're going to have to do it. So, okay, let's bring it back in for discussion. And council needs to decide then at this point if we want to put it out applications or if we want to just go out and find somebody in District 1 to talk about.
So just going back to Councilmember Strong's suggestion, if a council member recommended somebody, they would still need to be from District 1. Would that person or the applicant still have to fill out an application? How would that work?
Is that our discretion on that, Elizabeth? How would we perform if no one found but one person, for instance? What procedures do we need to go through on that?
I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit, but I think the question was if only one council member wanted to recommend someone.
Correct.
That would be up to you. So if the process you decide on this evening is that the council members are each allowed to recommend somebody, then you could do that. I guess my recommendation would be that you provide those names to the clerk ahead of time because we do need to vet them to ensure that they are eligible.
Exactly.
But you could do that. And if the process you said is all 4 of you have the ability to nominate someone and only one of you did, that would just mean that 3 of you chose not to take advantage of that opportunity, but we would still need that name ahead of time so we could make sure that that person was actually eligible.
Okay, so the question again then is 2 different paths here. We can kind of, as individual council people, look for an appointee that we can all talk about, or we can also put it out to application, right?
Or we can do both.
I know, we can do both, I guess, for that matter, or encourage somebody to make an application for the seat.
I would just really want to see everybody fill out the same application.
Okay. Councilman Gregory?
So, yeah, Elizabeth, just one more question. So if we want to have, whether they're recommended or whether they're applying, they're filling out the same application, we could do both, correct?
Yes, you could do that. You could have someone who is recommended by the council then be required to fill out the application form so that when you're vetting them, you all have the same information.
Mm-hmm. I prefer that personally too. Good. Fred, what do you think?
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
That's fine.
Is that
comment?
Yeah.
So I'm going to, I think we should, this is my personal opinion, but I think we should open up to applications. And I think we should keep the time frame fairly short.
That was going to be my next question. If we're going down this path, I'd like to ask staff then how calendar-wise we can do this and when we might be able to accomplish that or not?
We can, at your direction, have applications up and out to the public by Monday on the website, availability that way. And then we can, I think Elizabeth suggested perhaps 2 weeks as an application period for submittals. Then we could look out 2 weeks beyond that to schedule a special meeting to hold interviews if you decided you wanted to hold interviews, or if you just want to have, either way, we're going to have to schedule some kind of a special meeting to handle that piece or bring it back to the next regular meeting in October.
So if we can then have a 2-week period for application recitals and then have another 2 weeks to schedule a special meeting that we all become more familiar with the individual and his paperwork. And then our next meeting, I think, is council meeting is October 5th, is it? I believe.
It's Tuesday, October 3rd.
3rd. So would that be doable as far as getting things accomplished in that time frame?
I would say, dependent upon whether you want to interview each of them during that meeting or you just want to make an appointment, because we may want to consider doing it outside of a regular meeting if you're going to do interviews.
I think if you have one candidate, you could probably interview them on the 3rd.
Really,
if you've got
yeah,
10,
true,
you probably
yeah.
want to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. Sometimes people don't really want to do this kind of a job anymore sometimes.
So Ty, how busy is that agenda on the 3rd?
This is a pretty important topic, so I think we can make room for it. And if we had to defer something,
Okay.
we definitely could.
That's good.
I'm looking at the calendar here. Melissa, would the 24th be a good day for a special meeting to hold interviews with appointment by, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong dates here.
26th.
The 26th with appointment on the 3rd.
Tuesday, the 26th, for a special meeting date? Yes, we could do that.
For interviews.
We could do a special meeting. We could do it at 5 in the afternoon or at 6:30, depending on what council prefers.
Yeah,
We
actually
could
later
check
than
calendars
better.
earlier.
I'm good. We're going to be coming back into town about that evening. So I would like to see at least a 6:30 start on something like that.
6:30 on the 26th to do a special meeting to do interviews?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see you're saying Kelsey, is that right, that Saturday?
So,
I'm sorry.
Say that again.
That's fine.
You good with that on the 26th?
Yeah, I can make it.
Okay.
so if we're going to open an
October or
application period for 2 weeks,
September?
starting Monday, that would put it, that we'd have applications completely, deadline being the 25th,
That's good.
which would not allow staff time to produce an agenda for you and give you time to review everything outside of that. If we were closing at an end of business on the 25th, we couldn't be publishing an agenda for the next day.
Could we
So
go ahead, Elizabeth?
I was just gonna say, I just threw out 2 weeks as a suggestion. There's no rule to it. So if you wanted to open applications on the 11th, which would be Monday, let them run for, 9 or 10 days out to the 20th or the 21st, which would give, if you did on the 20th, that would give staff the 21st to confirm eligibility, those sorts of things. And we could publish an agenda. The agenda there won't be much of a staff report that comes with this. It would really just be a presentation of the materials. And then be able to meet on the 25th or 26th, I think was the
Right.
date.
We would have to notice that meeting on Friday, the 22nd, to have a meeting on the 26th.
We could
correct?
actually notice it as a special meeting on the 25th. We could
25th.
do that
Oh,
on the
okay.
25th.
And I would have a
So
question.
that timeframe that would work, if we did 10 days for the application period, closing application period on the 21st and having an agenda ready to produce and out by the 25th at the latest. My hope would be by Friday to give everyone plenty of time in the public to review it.
My question is this, that since we aren't coming back until the weekend, and we won't necessarily know who we're going to be inducting, can we put it on the agenda that way? Induct the new appointment to that district without naming who it is? Because we wouldn't be able to name or interview anybody until Monday, the day before. That's the earliest we'll have available.
I don't,
Just interview,
I
not
think what I
induct.
understood
just
was-
interview. Fred, this is just interviewing.
Right.
And we can make our choice on the 26th.
Oh, okay, so we're not saying we're going to meet on the 26th.
Right. It just gives staff time to
Oh, okay.
get it all ready.
Oh, that would give them plenty of time.
No. Let me
No,
back
no.
up. We would open up applications as soon as staff can get everything prepared and send those out, most likely by Monday. We would close the application period within 10 days. We'll make sure that it works for the calendar and Melissa and her team. You would hold a special meeting on the 26th to interview candidates on the 26th. Then we could appoint that person, you could appoint that person at the very first meeting in October.
And that basically is swearing them in, that person that day on that meeting, correct?
On the October
Correct.
3rd meeting, correct.
Very good.
So you could actually do the swearing in and the appointment on the 26th if you came to a decision that day. We would just have to make sure the agenda reflected that. Or you could just notice interviews on the 26th, and then we would put an item on the agenda for the 3rd for an action item, discussion item for appointment. And appointment and swearing in on the 3rd.
And that might give the candidate, the successful candidate, an opportunity to have family and other folks there for an event.
Okay.
Observation. I don't think this will happen, but just in case it does, if we start later on the 26th, how late do we want to go in the evening? How many candidates can we interview? If we need to overflow, do we want to overflow until the morning of the 27th?
That's doable too.
Because the evening is Mayor Martin's celebration.
Right, Wednesday afternoon.
So we would have to overflow in the morning. Is council chamber available or is another suitable place?
I don't have a problem personally on Wednesday morning if we have to get
Right,
there.
I've got it open also.
Brett, are you
I'm
available
checking
Wednesday
calendar
morning?
availability for council chamber.
Interview on the 26th. Tuesday evening. See. Next morning. No, I'll like to see the. Okay. So if we have to get into Wednesday to.
And I don't think we
don't
do.
have that on Wednesday.
I'd be really happy if we do it. It'd be nice.
All
I
right.
don't think it'll happen.
Celebration of life.
Okay. Well, does staff have enough information then, Ty? I think you got it handled at this point. Elizabeth can finish up all the details legally on that too. So, so this is just direction. We don't need to take an action on that, Elizabeth. Just direction to staff on what we want to do.
That's correct. We just need direction. And the direction that I heard is that we're going to do an appointment, not a special election. And then we're going to have an application process following the time frame that the city manager just set forth.
10-4. All right.
I just want to confirm, because there's a lot of folks out there that want us to have an election. There will be an election at some point.
14 months later.
14 months.
Right.
All right, okay.
Councilmember Mayor Hammond,
Yes.
in checking the council chamber availability, there is a planning commission meeting scheduled that night. So we can't do it that night. We could do it Thursday, the 28th. If council, it would be the day after that.
The 28th,
The 28th, Thursday, the 28th.
I'll be in Los Angeles.
To continue on any interviews, you're saying?
No, to do.
No, to do the interviews.
This is booked up.
Council is all
Oh.
available on the night of the
Oh.
26th. However, there
that's-
is another
are the
meeting
interviews that
scheduled.
night?
I'm sorry?
So question, is the upstairs room available too? We've done that for interviews. The main
Good
conference.
point.
Yeah.
Yes, we could do the interviews upstairs in the
I'm
large
gonna be coming
conference
back
room.
into
We
town
would have to
specifically.
leave that space open and available for public to come in because it would be a notice special meeting.
Yeah,
But yes, we can do that.
okay.
It may get a little uncomfortable in their room.
We could just
but-
put them all in Ty's office and just,
There you go. We could
That's
always,
fine.
like, the lobby upstairs could be used as an
Yeah.
overflow situation.
Yeah, we've done public meetings up there. Okay. All right, then, again, staff, you guys work it out, let us know, and we can, all the details, okay?
so leave it on the 26th.
That's why I'd like to see it unless something happens here that,
Good,
Yeah.
because I won't be able to make the 28th.
right, I'd rather not
Awesome.
either, so,
Great, thank you.
okay. So let's, at this point then, I think all of our items to go over tonight is complete. Anything further? Staff?
Mayor
Take
Hammond?
any formal action on what we just discussed?
No.
No, it was just a direction.
Mayor Hammond, I'd like to move that we adjourn our meeting with you as our mayor.
All right.
Second,
All right, motion by Gregory, second by Bausch. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the
Thank you,
support.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.